What is going on, Space Mob? Welcome back to another episode of the AST Space Odyssey podcast. Appreciate you tuning in again. Once again, this stock is up to great things. It does look like we're consolidating now in the high 40s. Great spot to be at after kind of being stuck in the 20s for a year. And overall, it just feels good when the conviction pays off and the company's still pumping out good news. New stuff coming soon. We just have our launch to be approved to ship to India. So hopefully we should have an update on that soon once it's officially sent. And with a lot going on with these military uses and testing with the government and with the Golden Dome possibly in action right now and the big beautiful bill officially signed today, no one better to help cover this than the one and only CatSe. Welcome back, CatSe. Thank you for coming on. With all this stuff lately, I saw once this bill was signed, I saw you tweeting a bunch about how this can benefit AST. And I'm really just interested in diving into kind of how this can benefit AST, the big, beautiful bill, and kind of just the best military applications of AST. Because as we have seen here and as we go on, it's like this company is just opening up more and more as like a dual use company. Well, we're going to have the military on one side and then the commercial use once we do have all those satellites up. And it does seem like as we just get more and more of these up, it looks like the government does have interest in using these more, which is just a great revenue opportunity to start for right now. So with like the signing of this giant bill, I was hoping you could really dive into the aspects of how AST can benefit from this besides the Golden Dome.
Hi, thanks for having me. Yeah, so big, beautiful bill act. It's lots of stuff in that. You have, for example, tax exemption for spaceports. And AST is building one and already has one at Midland International Air and Spaceport, and the other one is at Homestead Air Force Base in Florida. So tax reductions to build that. That would be nice. FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, they get the rights back to auction spectrum. And there will be spectrum that's suited for AST satellites coming out. It's very important to deploy more spectrum, because that's the scarce resource that they're making money from. But there's also other non-Golden Dome use cases, such as big investments for 5G, military 5G. There's also in this bill military space communications. That's 125 million. 5G, 6G for military use, that's $500 million. And there's a whole range of other budget items. That's not really Golden Dome related, but where AST still can profit from it. Alternative position, navigation, and timing, that's GPS alternatives, there's 40 million there. Full duplex radio frequency technology, 25 million. Tactical mesh communication for special operations forces, it's 300 million. And military satellite development is 3.6 billion. This goes on. It aggregates to tens of billions of US dollars. Just Golden Dome, but other budget items.
Yeah, so it's really interesting to kind of see how this is all going to impact AST. I think we've set ourselves up, especially with kind of what you just explained, in a really good spot in some of these aspects that were introduced in this bill. And I think over the next few months, with all this money and funds kind of going into these places where it is important, especially defense and all the things you named, it's just important to have a technology like this in place. So now that the Golden Dome is funded with $25 billion, and we've seen management talk about it like in the earnings call, we saw some questions come in the last investors kind of update. We saw them also talk about it. And when you see management talk about it, like we just kind of know that at least like it's in place and that they believe that we have a good chance at this, because AST has always been kind of very honest with shareholders, and I don't think they would be like taking these questions in and kind of talking about it without it actually happening. So in a way, I think it's like kind of like a nod towards the space mob who dives into all these as being like, hey, we're going to be involved in this. Here's a little head start, kind of wink wink. And I think it's going to be us when the time does come. Yeah, we don't have the full constellation up, but the Golden Dome is going to be a hard task. And once they are testing kind of our satellites in this fashion, and as we get more up, they can do more testing. And obviously, once kind of we have this full constellation up, especially in America, it'll be still about time when this Golden Dome's getting ready, because it's still going to take a few years to build. And kind of our launch candidates now is lining up to exactly kind of how they need it. So do you think AST is likely to get a contract, and why does our technology fit like kind of exactly what they're looking for here as they kind of displayed?
Yeah, a huge win for USA and the free world to get Golden Dome funded. It's also a big opportunity for AST. Why is it a good fit? Well, one thing is that Donald Trump, a bit optimistically, wants it deployed within his term. That means you need to be well advanced with your platform and technology to be of interest. Yeah, just look at AST, that they've been at this for 8 years already, and are starting to launch full-scale satellites this year. So that's the development time. It's a decade to full constellation shells, which means that there's just a few set contenders that will be able to deliver within the time frame of the program. AST is one of them. They have this aspect to them that they will be continuously deploying new shells. There's free commercial, possibly one or two military shells, and when they're deployed, each will take, say, 1.5 years. It's time to start replenish the first shell with upgraded satellites doing the same coverage area and the same frequency band. So there will be a bit like Starlink, that's continuously launching new satellites, a production line that keeps on building satellites, keeps on launching them, and this is a attractive aspect for the military to have this, to be able to deploy their hosted payloads or their functions in a continuous flow. They look for that when selecting vendors. They're unique in the size, the power, the precision of the Earth orbit satellite. Nothing like it in any other commercial system. So that unique aspect will see them as the sole contender for the function that needs that power or needs that precision. It's also the huge phased array and how that's the directivity of that, the massive QV feeder links. Um, yeah. So lots of data can be processed and sent back down to Earth. Not just communications, but also for sensing. And AST satellite will be good to host other systems, to integrate other systems onto that big, powerful platform. And Golden Dome is a system of systems. It does integration. It's also built to be protocol agnostic, which means that it can augment and integrate with defense systems the way it's designed from the first principles to augment and integrate with commercial systems. Just another protocol. So it's a very good fit for the Golden Dome system. It's a good fit for the communications and the signals intelligence part of it, but also for sensing.
So yeah, this does kind of have that's all very good explanation. It kind of helps us visualize how exactly they plan to use this. And I think something like this is going to really revolutionize this company and open a lot of eyes and say, wow, look at what this is capable of. They're getting these big Department of Defense contracts. They're using this one-of-a-kind tech for something that is honestly going to just change kind of defense as we know it. And I think it's just going to be very important. And I think SpaceMob is going to look brilliant after this because like this is something that we caught on to so long ago. And it seems like a lot of the big things that we have caught on to as a collective, it seems like it's kind of playing out now. So let's just really hope this kind of does play out here. So I'm curious, like, how does our tech for this stand out to competitors? Because like we see there's a lot of satellite companies out there. There's like Starlink. We're not sure that they can pull off a contract now with kind of the recent feud and all, but I'm just curious kind of what makes AST kind of the best pick for the Golden Dome here.
Yeah, it's not just how do they stack up against competitors, it's how they can be joining other players for a better system of systems and integrate with other players in a mutualistic symbiotic way. It's sort of a hallmark of AST and Abel as a person to make deals and to integrate and join with others. That's needed for Golden Dome. It's a system of system that does sensor fusion and integrate system. So you need to have that business culture and you need to have built the system to be able to do that. Protocol agnostic, plug and play with other systems. And AST can do that. But if we are to compare phased arrays to other phased arrays, it's more powerful than any other player. They can do higher data throughput, better precision per end user device, latency and Doppler corrections. Gives you better precision, gives you higher throughput. Very advanced technology in the beam forming, earth fixed cells, advanced beam control, advanced side lobe control. On a level of modern radar systems, how they can do adaptive beam forming, which is needed both for the positioning use case, for the communication use case, and for the sensing use case.
That's pretty massive. I think they're really looking for a tech that stands out here to be able to get this up and running and kind of have the best accuracy, because this is one of the biggest kind of like internal U.S. defense mechanisms we've seen over the last century. So they're going to want to do this right. They're not going to want to go with like a random satellite company And it does seem like the size in this is definitely going to matter, because what better way to track missiles than giant satellites in space being able to detect what's under them? If you have a bunch of small ones, it assumes that you would need a lot of them very, very close, and it just doesn't seem like it'd work as smooth here. So, kind of while we're talking military here, I mean, that's kind of what all we're talking about today. And so the recent AST military press release kind of about how all branches of the military are testing this right now, and that we're conducting demos in Hawaii using the AST Bluebirds to beam communications to tactical assault kits, which is usually mapping related software designed for military operations and kind of a software that would be on smartphones. And I think that's very cool, because seeing that all branches are using this, so like the military is very aware of this technology, and when they're on the battlefield they need to be able to communicate, and having be able to communicate over these satellites in war zones like fast and efficiently, not having to use walkie talkies or old technology, is something that's going to be very, very crucial. So the fact that they're testing this here is just astounding to me. And it still kind of surprised me that the stock didn't like rip right after this. We already did kind of run up too, but then once they did drop this news, I'm like, oh my gosh, because like as we're going, we're just seeing these military and just different use cases overall. So I was hoping you could just kind of dive into that and kind of what they're using this for.
Yeah, Android Tactical Assault Kit. It's a situational awareness tool. Layman terms, snapshot map of the warfighter. It's a tool that allows soldier to connect directly to another soldier using a cell phone calls. This function is device to device without using the base station or any tower or satellite. You can just connect within a squad from radio to radio or from squad to the next one. This takes a lot of the data traffic off the network. It also has broadcast if you need to distribute the map of that you built together, aggregated. You want to broadcast that to all units. You can do that without sending a data burst to individually to each radio. You use the same slot to communicate to all the radios within reach. So it has this broadcast of blue force tracking, and also of where the opposing force is. And you get this presented on a digital map in real time, most often worn on the chest in a ruggedized case. You can flip that down and look at the map in real time. And this gives back the tactical edge to the US warfighter that was lost with the proliferation of thermal and night vision gear. You have to spin the OODA loop faster, so sensors used to make US soldiers better at observing. Now this Android Tactical Assault Kit makes you better at understanding all this sensor input and orient yourself and orient your teammates and higher command of what is happening. Where are you? Where do you need to be? Where are your friends? Where is the opposing force? And it's been built in its military iteration for all sorts of things these days. You can call in airstrikes, medevac, and control drones, and get sensor feeds, and lots of stuff that a soldier needs is available in real time. So, very, very powerful tool. It's a 10x force multiplier. And what AST did, they showed that they can do these functions via VPN, so secure communication, do this broadband sensor feed, do this broadcast of data, the situational awareness, tactical map in real time, directly to these androids. That's such a powerful tool that I know for certain the space component that will deliver it will be funded. It's a 10x force multiplier for the warfighter. It's much needed. And you can control drones. You can have immediate situational awareness of all friendly drones. It means you can discriminate opposing drones. And you look at the Ukraine conflict, and drones, they do 70 to 80% of the killing. So you would want to know if the drone is yours or not, so you can target it. And it gives this real-time situational awareness of that. That's very valuable. If we look what's happening next with ATAC, it will be not just real-time situational awareness, it will be augmented reality, extended reality type situational awareness. So you'll overlay this data from the digital world on top of the sensory input from the physical world. A bit like the helmet of an fighter pilot. You also have this helmet-mounted display of the soldier, or let's say you're wearing thermal night vision fusion, then you get overlaid on top of this signature if it's friend or foe, and where your waypoints are, and tactical minimap, and whatever you need, you get that overlaid. Anyone playing video games is listening to this, it's much like many of the first-person shooter games. You will have the same sort of interface to the world as you get in those games, highlighted friend and foe, and you have this minimap and so on. And you can point out to others what you see. Orient your teammates. So that was what they tested and proved they can do. Big win for AST. I'll add that this app is not just for warfighters. There's a civilian version you can download if you want to use and try functions. You won't be able to call in airstrikes there. You won't be able to do device-to-device communication, but a lot of the other functions will be there for you. It's also a law enforcement version. And then it's Android Team Awareness Kit, not Android Tactical Assault Kit, but it's the same basic app. And police use it. So it has this FirstNet appeal. FirstNet mentioned that they are going to do this investment, and AST and AT&T is their partner. They also said that, and they mentioned situational awareness. It means ATAC. And so they're investing in that. There's also used in firefighting. Fighting a forest fire, you can overlay satellite data, for example, to know where heat signatures are. So where is the fire? Where are you? Where do you need to be? Where are your firefighting mates? So many use cases, not just military, but the military use case of this is enormous, and it's been deployed Swedish forces, German forces. So it's NATO-wide, not just US.
So as we've seen like in the past, kind of AST getting these big military contracts, and kind of like what Scott and Abel said in the earnings is they think that these are going to be able to scale up as we get more satellites and more coverage. And I think it's like already just something that's so cool to note. And props to you because you were kind of calling these military use cases before like ASC even talked to us about it. And now they're talking on their kind of websites when they're like, oh, this is like the first ever space mobile kind of connectivity platform here. And that also serves government applications. So it's cool to see them kind of now advertise as this. And I think this is kind of behind this recent price action is like people realizing how much of a beast this can be for the military. And it's not just like a telecom company anymore. It's like a high technology engineering government contractor as well as providing connectivity everywhere, which is just something we've never seen before. And when you tie these two together, it really kind of shows the opportunity here. So I'd like to hear how you think the government, or like just how they're actually doing it, the government is already using the AST satellites that we do already have up right now.
How they're already using? I'd say that's classified. But so it'd be speculative. They're likely using it mainly the way AST is using it, that is to develop and refine the ways they are to use it operationally later. So researching new type of use cases and developing. But one thing they might or likely are using it for already is to build a map of where are cellular radios and where are other radios in the frequency band that current satellites can use and listen. It's a new functionality to pinpoint with meter level accuracy where are all the satellites, all the radios of 617 to 960 megahertz globally. They can do that now. It's big business intelligence to know where can you build the next tower, of course, but also military use. You can map out that, possibly also tap into that, but that would require inter-satellite links or gateways near opposing forces, antagonistic countries. Not sure they have deployed that yet, but just to map out where radios are, you can do that now, I believe.
It is really massive, especially that the government is already using these in those applications. And it's only going to grow from here as we get more satellites up. And as this relationship grows, it's just going to lead to opportunities down the road, which is just something that's very, very exciting for AST shareholders because the government, as we kind of seen with this new bill, they have so much money. So when they find technologies like this, it's like they can print money to secure the nation and kind of get ahead of other countries in terms of using satellites for war. And I think we're going to see that a lot. Like we're already seeing China now. A bunch of articles coming out recently kind of like hinting towards a space race part two, kind of with communication and just like satellite things in terms of war technology. So I think getting ahead of the curve here, and we just saw kind of the Department of Defense give a big contract to Ticker MP, and looking into the kind of that contract, they outright bought a lot of shares, and it went up like 50%. So it's cool to see the Department of Defense kind of directly invest in companies, and that would be really cool if they did that with AST because they kind of know the tech is there, and if they did do a big investment in us, it could help us kind of speed up the production and launch cannons, hopefully. And because then it's just a win-win. If they invest money in us, take a stake, kind of as we do succeed, they will also benefit monetarily, and they'll have our tech to kind of use in these wartime situations and be able to kind of start this partnership early, where as we do get new military use cases and they do need us, we're there right away. It's good to kind of establish that relationship now and just keep showing how they can use these. So to kind of sum it up, I'd love to hear kind of the top 3 most important ways you think the military will or is utilizing AST Bluebirds.
One way to cut that in 3 pieces is they'll augment existing system, like with the MUIS radio, provide a space component for legacy radios, for example, as they're protocol agnostic. So one way. The other is adding new functionalities. And the third is replacing existing systems. But it might be more interesting to cut it in another way, 3 ways. The most important function, no doubt, will be communications, connecting to size, weight, and power constrained radios that are distributed in the battlefield and also home at base. The number of radios per warfighter, per soldier, is increasing dramatically. Not just soldier-worn radios, but radios on drones or distributed sensors, and so big communication use case. Second is signals intelligence, tapping and mapping where are the opposing forces radios, which might be pre-GPP compliant standard-based radios, but also other types of radios. And the third way will be sensing, radar type sensing. This might be dedicated satellites, but it might also be the communication satellites that do joint communication and sensing, or integrated sensing and communication. There are 2 4-letter acronyms for the same thing. It's possible with 6G protocols to do that, and OTFS, the Cohere protocol, is one of them, and we know Cohere is in collaboration with AST.
That's a great kind of way to wrap it up there. I really appreciate you coming on. I think talking about these military use cases, like, you've been doing it for a while, and I think it's really massive to see these contracts coming, and what it's building to is really going to be something special here. And the duality of this company is really kind of flourishing now, and it's something that we've just kind of noticed and that you've noticed for years back. So I assume it's got to be satisfying to kind of see some of this play out. And I think all you discussed here just makes me more bullish on this aspect, because it is going to be important. And just having this asset for our country, and just any use case that can save lives, that can make military communication easier, that can track missiles and help shoot them down, is just something that gives the military a sense of defense. And I think ultimately it's something that they're going to love to get behind, because there's no better way to secure your future than investing in an American-made company right here in Texas that is building one-of-a-kind satellites that will be able to do kind of what you talked about, things that no other company has, or with like our technology and patents and the size of our satellites, it seems like we'll even be able to do. So super bullish here. I really appreciate your time. I think investors in AST, after listening to this podcast, are really going to kind of start opening their eyes to this big military, because like someone like me, I've really been focused on, like, as soon as this company went public via SPAC, it was just, wow, they're going to be able to, they're partnered with AT&T, they're going to be able to connect to phones anywhere. This is revolutionary. Never really once in my head was, oh, the military is going to use these giant satellites for all these crazy use cases. And I think as we see this go on, is really, really unfolding, where it could potentially be a split business, or even I think the US government money will be kind of our first big revenue here. And that's kind of what we're seeing now. Like at the second half of this year, we're projected to start making good revenue. And I think a lot of that is coming from these military applications. And I think getting these applications early is going to kind of lead us. We already have about a 1 billion war chest, but as this revenue comes in, it's going to kind of, first off, establish us as like a real company, because there's still a lot of the fraudsters and the people who don't believe, who will look at the balance sheet, they'll look at the earnings, see, oh, they're just losing money. There's no way like they're going to stay around because they're building these $22 million satellites and they're not making any money. So once they do, especially like institutions, once they do see the money coming in, especially from the government, it's a good sign of an early stage growth. And then we can use that money to reinvest in research and development, which will just ultimately lead to more use cases. Because I feel like the research and development part of AST is just absolutely insane, because they're using these giant satellites and testing in ways that satellites have never done. And thinking of it, like, and looking into it, it's like, where do they even come up with some of these use cases? But it's amazing to see it kind of pay off here. And it's going to be really eye-opening, because there's probably use cases out there, especially for the military, that we haven't even heard of. And I bet that some of the contracts that we do with the military, they won't even disclose what the use cases are, because it's going to be secure and they don't want our enemies to know kind of the technology that we're using. So once again, thank you very much. Always appreciate you having you on here. And I think all of SpaceMob really appreciates the work you do and the technical and military standpoint in your background that you have here. It really brings a lot to the table here. And I think it's made a lot of us really confident in the stock and kind of the way it has been unfolding. Like, I need that hat that says CatSe was always right, because it seems like you have been right, but sometimes too early where people don't believe it. So thank you very much. And to the Space Mob watching, appreciate you guys listening. Make sure you subscribe, AST Space Odyssey on all platforms. Appreciate all the listeners. This podcast has been picking up now, especially with the stock price. All the new Space Mob members, welcome. And we look forward to the next one. Thanks, CatSe.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Was always enjoy talking about AST. And thank you for doing this podcast. It's much appreciated. Yeah. Bye.